What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and we are now dealing with the worst case scenario out in East Palestine, Ohio. As I reported to you all earlier today, this makeshift dam that they built to hold back a lot of these toxic chemicals and the water that has been contaminated with these toxic chemicals, they built this dam to hold all of this stuff back from seeping into the waterways and from continuing to travel down the streams and all the various bodies of water down there. And now that dam has broken. The dam has been breached. It is leaking back right into the waterways. So they're right back to square one again. A lot of the work they've done, or so-called have done, it's null and void now. Because now these waterways are recontaminated with some of the same chemicals that they just took out of these waterways. But not just that, areas that weren't even as badly affected are affected now. And people that live in East Palestine, they've been traveling down to the site of this dam break. They're trying to get photos and videos, but they're being turned around by, I don't know who this agency is. People are saying different names, but there's people out there turning them around saying, hey, it's not safe to be here. So they, in turn, are reporting this situation to the local media. Of course, the local media hasn't been able to get in touch or get in contact with any of these various agencies out there, Norfolk Southern, all of these other agencies. It would take me 15 minutes to talk about every group that is out there right now. They're not able to get in touch with them. So to add insult to injury, to add salt to a wound, the local media outlets out there contacted the local fire department to ask them what is going on with this breached dam. This contaminated water, these chemicals, they're going everywhere. I'm afraid they're going to start seeping into the local businesses and houses around this dam. And guess what they were told? The fire department had no clue that this was even happening. The fire department, let that sink in. The fire department of East Palestine, Ohio, where this tragic situation just took place, had no idea that the dam that was built to hold back all of these toxic chemicals had breached, and it was flooding everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, look at these photos. It's all over the place. There are 5 different water wells right near this area. And I mean, what are the people drink out of and stuff? You know what I mean? If these water wells are contaminated, all hell's going to break loose. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think these water wells may already be contaminated and probably are, which is why they probably put locks on them. But now the situation's even getting worse. And now, like I tried to explain to you all in my last video, all of these built up chemicals that were built up and stored in one area are just released right back out into this community. Released right back out into this community that was trying to pick up the pieces. They're out there in East Palestine, literally trying to pick up the pieces of their lives that have been blown apart. Blown apart. And now this happens. And the local fire department doesn't even know it's happening. Why do you think that is? It's because these agencies that have come in here, Norfolk Southern, the various companies they've hired to run these tests and to do these cleanups, they've taken control of this whole situation. And I keep saying agencies because there's multiple agencies out there. There's multiple companies out there. You know, we got FEMA out there. We got the EPA out there. We got all types of people out there. And they are controlling the situation so much so that the local fire department doesn't even know, is not alerted at all to the fact that the dam has breached and the dam has broken and people are in danger. The area is in danger. Not to mention, I mean, they half-ass built these dams. You know, I mean, they had some heavy rain out in the area, but it wasn't nothing that should have caused all of this to happen. But it did. But it did. So let's go ahead and watch this clip from the local news so we can all hear from them. I want you all to hear from their mouths what is going on here, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Creek to rise and spilling over the makeshift dam near the derailment site. Thanks for joining us for the news at 10 o'clock. I'm Chris Fry. This development now brings in a whole new element of fear and raises more questions about what kind of water is now spilling into the waterway. Michelle Nix live in the newsroom tonight with what we're hearing from the scene. Michelle.
Good evening, Chris. Sadly, the people of East Palestine can't get a break. They're telling me that water contaminated by the train derailment and separated into a makeshift dam is now flowing back into Leslie Run Creek and onto city streets. New fears in East Palestine from residents who tell me rain breached a man-made dam constructed by Norfolk Southern after the massive train derailment, forcing contaminated water in these photos to flow back into the creek and flood the area of Main Street. Eric Jake Koza tells me by telephone from East Palestine he's frightened to think about what could happen if toxic water seeps into neighboring homes and businesses.
I'm feared that now the chemical is in the ground, it's going to leach towards the water ducts, our aquifer for drinking water. I'm concerned that the park is now contaminated.
Koza's family has been diagnosed with chemical irritation or rashes on their skin. Now he says with the breach of the man-made dam, there's an odor in the air again.
I have fear. I've had fear, and this just put the anxiety over the top.
One East Palestine resident on social media posted that a work crew told him to get away from the overflowing dam, calling it dangerous. As for Koza, he says he doesn't know how much more their community can take. But this is a man-made dam?
It was the one that was making it deep enough to where they could pump the water out of the creek. They call them booms. So that it catches the chemicals before it goes further down the creek.
Now, there are just so many unknowns. You can understand the anxiety. I called the East Palestine Fire Department, and the dispatcher was surprised to hear that a dam was overflowing, saying no one has contacted us. So at this point, there's no evacuation or anything like that. We'll keep you posted. Reporting live in the newsroom, Michelle Nix, 19 News.
And we're working to get answers from the EPA on what kind of impact this will have.
You know what? Nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing surprises me anymore. These are the so-called experts and the professionals that we're supposed to rely on. They're making promises that, oh, we're going to clean this stuff up. We're going to make sure we get East Palestine back to tip-top shape. We're going to support you all. We're going to take care of you all. The water is safe. The air is safe. East Palestine is going to be the best place in America soon. We're going to help you all so much. And they're feeding them all of these bogus promises. Meanwhile, they can't even be bothered to build a dam that would actually work. I mean, I'm trying not to say words that are going to get me kicked off of YouTube here. And I try not to cuss too much in my videos. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I cuss like a sailor in person. But I try not to do that in my videos. I know sometimes people don't like that. And sometimes you got kids watching this stuff. But man, I could really let loose right now. And it's taking every fiber of my being not to do so. Making this video right now is really hard because I'm having to restrain myself from just letting loose and saying things that I really would like to say. But how is this allowed to happen? They know how serious the situation is. They know how serious these chemicals are. Supposedly, they're trained in this. They learn about this stuff for their entire lives. They dedicate their lives to this profession. Yet here we have the dam breaking. But guess what? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You want to know what else I found out? This is the second time this has already happened. The first time, the first time one of these dams in East Palestine broke, there was so much other stuff going on that I don't think people had a chance to really focus on that. And even me, someone who's been looking into this story a lot, it's something that kind of slipped under the radar almost a little bit. Because we're looking at, damn, this plane just crashed that was carrying all of these people who were running tests in East Palestine. And then you're looking at, oh, damn, look. It's so much crazy stuff happening around this situation. But it just so turns out that this is the second time a dam in this area that was holding back toxic chemicals has breached. You would think after the first one, it should have never, ever happened in the first place. But from my understanding, the first time it happened, it was nowhere near as bad as what happened yesterday. Because what happened yesterday, there wasn't an immediate response to it. Hell, hours and hours after it happened, the fire department didn't even know it happened. There wasn't an immediate response. Plus, the whole area flooded. So, all of these chemicals are just all over the place at this point. But yeah, you would think after the first time, like I said, the first time should have never happened. But you would think after the first time, you learn from that mistake. You learn from that mistake and you immediately not just fix that mistake, but you try to make it better. This shows you that, oh, the dam broke, and they're like, oh, damn, the dam broke, and did nothing about it, and now another dam is broken, or maybe even the same dam. And they never even took the necessary precautions to make sure it didn't happen again. That's how sloppy they are. It's almost as if they don't care about these people at all. I don't think most of us, the majority of us aren't under an illusion thinking that they care about these people, because they don't. They could pretend to care. We know they don't care. If they cared, I don't think this would have happened in the first place. And a large portion of me, and I'm a large guy, and a large portion of all of this thinks that this wasn't an accident in the first place. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, this wasn't an accident, because that would be irresponsible of me. I'm just saying there are things here that really make me feel weird about this story. And it definitely makes me feel even weirder knowing that this dam broke. Y'all know the dam broke. And y'all didn't take necessary precautions to make sure it didn't happen again. And then when it happened again, it was even worse. And when people in this area tried to document it, you told them to get away. And the local fire department and law enforcement has no idea this is happening, which lets me know that y'all are in control of this total situation, and you're not even allowing local law enforcement, local fire department, or anyone local to even look into this situation at all. At all. And these agencies that are out there, they're not going to give folks the proper warning. They're not going to take the proper protocols. They're going to try to sweep it under the rug. All of the homes and businesses and stuff that are right in this proximity of where this flood occurred and where this breach occurred, there should already be an evacuation order in place. All of the homes in the immediate vicinity of where this breach occurred and where this flood occurred, they should be getting evacuated out of their homes, or they should have been told by now to get out. But orders like that aren't going to come from the cleanup crews, from the top secret cleanup crews and air testers that these companies hire. No, those type of warnings are going to come from local officials, fire departments. You know what I mean? And they don't even have knowledge of these situations happening. Therefore, they can't properly warn the citizens of this town. and they can't properly tell people that are right in this area that's flooding with tons of toxic chemicals. They don't even know to tell them, hey, you need to get back. Like, I know you've evacuated already. You got to get out again. You got to get out of your house. So the situation, we are over a month out now. This happened on February 3rd. We are over a month out from this situation occurring. And I can confidently say that the situation is worse now than it has ever been. As of yesterday, when this breach occurred, when all of that toxic water and all of that toxic sludge and all of those toxic chemicals that were building up and building up and building up, concentrated in one area, being held back by this dam, when that dam broke, and all of that concentrated nastiness flowed right back out into the creeks and the streams and the waterways and soaked right back in to the soil of these areas as the area flooded and spreaded these chemicals even further. Things are worse now than they have ever been within the last month. And people in the area are already reporting that the smells are coming back stronger. Don't get me wrong, the smell hasn't left this area, but it's not as bad. Or before yesterday, it wasn't as bad as prior days, as prior weeks. The smell was starting to become not as strong. And now that this flood occurred and this breach occurred in the dam, now the smell is back to like 100%. Seriously, folks, I don't know what to think of this. I really don't know what to think of this. But this isn't the only situation going on. There's still other shady stuff going on that we'll talk about in future videos. So while you're here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you ring that notification bell so you can be notified of my uploads, because YouTube probably doesn't want to notify you about half the stuff I talk about. But while you're here, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.